Okay, Josh, we're going to talk about a British creator
I'm down.
who started in British indie comics.
Okay.
And then went to 2000 AD, and
Okay.
then got famous doing American comics.
We already did Alan Moore. Garth Ennis. Kevin O'Neill. Andy Diggle.
We haven't talked about him yet, but somebody else.
He's not gonna get it.
Drawing a blank.
Hey, welcome to iFanboy, the comic book video fun time from iFanboy.com.
Happy hour.
Happy fun time!
My name is Ron, and I'm here with...
Josh!
I'm Connor, and this is Grant Morrison week at iFanboy.
Woo!
We are going to be talking about Grant Morrison all week. We're going to do Grant Morrison here in the show, and then we're going to every mini this week is going to be about Grant Morrison books.
And there's going to be a lot of great content on
We're going to be writing about Grant
iFanboy.com.
Morrison. It's Grant Morrison week.
Yes.
So before we get started,
Great.
we're going to... Oh, he's going to do this whole
there
show
we go.
now. Here we go.
Great.
What we're going to do is we're going to talk about Grant Morrison's overview of his career. We're not going to hit every single book.
Yeah.
We know we're leaving some out. We're going to skip over some. We're going to talk
Done a
about
lot.
some of our favorite highlights from his overview, which is not even close to being the proper pronunciation. But we're going to...
I'm not the only one, apparently.
We're going to step right over that one. So we're going to talk about our favorite highlights from his career, and then there's other books we're not going to mention, but just going to have to live with it.
And Grant Morrison's he's one of those writers with a interesting reputation.
Yep.
He's quite into the mysticism. And
He's
the
polarizing.
weird. Yes, he is, and got a lot of different opinions and approaches to writing, and they've come through in different parts throughout his career. So it's interesting to see how they all kind of bubble up to the top.
Right.
Nah.
So as many British writers do, he started the British indie scene, then he went to 2000 AD, and then the whole time he's sending out proposals to DC, because they really want to write DC superheroes, and they were completely ignoring them, because who the hell is this Grant Morrison guy?
Who's this guy from Scotland?
Then he did a book.
Sending us
He did a
stuff.
book called Zenith, which got a lot of notice in the industry. So that led to DC offering him Animal Man, which is the first book we're going to talk about.
And it was a sort of a non... It was at the bottom of that one. You had it. There you go. It was sort of a not well-known title. It wasn't doing anything. And they said, well, here, see what you can do with it. And then he goes on to create a seminal run in DC Comics.
It's Vertigo.
In the 80s. I believe it is being printed by Vertigo now, but it was just a DC
was
comic
in-
at the
yeah.
time because it wasn't a Vertigo then.
Right.
It was one of the things that helped launch Vertigo. Basically, we've sort of touched on this before.
We touched a little bit on it, but let's talk about more about it.
Animal Man you can buy in, there's 3 trade paperbacks that encompass his whole run. Starts with issue, sorry about this, 1 through 9, look at that. Who knew? Beautiful Brian Bolland covers on all of these. That's like the one thing you'll notice is that right away on the cover they look like there's something special, and then you find out they are. Now you read this first one, and you think, that was pretty good, but I don't really know what this is. What's so special
What
about
he's
it.
getting at,
Good,
yeah.
I mean, I like this Buddy Baker. I he's cool.
Animal Man is a guy who has the power of animals. He
Exactly.
absorbs.
If there's an animal nearby, he can take the power.
If there's an eagle flying
Except
by,
for
he can
currently,
suddenly.
now
back in this
right,
book, he could
Yeah.
fly like an eagle and
Yeah.
fly
Into
like
the
an
future.
eagle.
Totally
To the sea.
pay for the rights. And basically, he starts noticing some stuff that's really weird that's going on, and they're just sort of hinting at it in the first volume. Then you get to the second volume, and things are ratcheting up a little more, and stuff's going strangely, and stuff's just reality isn't right for him. And then you get to the third volume, and things go completely off the map, and he goes on a peyote trip, and I've never read a book like this.
And and when you read it, you were raving about it. And I thought
Yes.
it was really funny because I'd read some of it through the years, and I knew that it was very postmodern, metaphysical, very kind of out there.
Mhm.
And I was surprised that you liked it as much as you did because I thought maybe it goes too far.
No.
No, at that time,
Yeah.
for what I thought your comfort zone was. So I thought it was great that you enjoyed it. But it definitely gets out there.
Well, it's a treatise on what is the nature of existence.
Yes, and who is your creator and all this. And it's funny because the art style is very much of the time.
Yep.
It's not spectacular art. It's not.
But it's
Chaz Trog and Tom Grummett.
Yeah.
Grummett was huge.
Grummett was big.
Yeah.
in the 90s, yeah.
And it's just kind of very basic looking, which sort of works to belie what's actually happening.
Yeah.
And basically the whole thing is on his way that Animal Man knows that he is in a fiction story.
Well, he figures out that he's a fiction story. He doesn't know it. He
Slowly,
it's revealed to him that he is a created by Grant Morrison, and not created by but being written by Grant Morrison.
At some point, Grant Morrison appears in the book,
Yeah.
talking to his creation, which is just.
Well, the big
mind-blowing.
we mentioned this before in a previous show. The big moment is when he turns towards the reader and sees you and recognizes you as his reader, and you recognize each other and you scream.
We talked about it a little bit in our postmodern show,
But I mean, it sounds like it could be hokey,
but it's not.
like, but it's not. It's really like one of the better comic book reading experiences, and it's over the 3 volumes. So he's building this for a long time.
Yep.
And you really let yourself build up to it. And by the time you get there, it's just incredibly satisfying. This is one of my favorite things he's ever done, which is interesting because it was sort of very early in his professional career.
Risky too.
But I mean that's how you get where you get. You know.
And also he uses it. Grant Morrison's very big into animal rights. So he used the book Animal Man. He used it for a lot to expose a lot of animal issues, which he didn't want to get. He writes about in here. He didn't want to get too far into. He didn't want to put people off, but. You can tell it runs through this whole.
But he
whole
sort
book.
of undergoes a change where he becomes much more respectful and aware of animal rights and things like that as he goes through, which fits absolutely perfectly. Just love this book.
It is a classic.
It's like it deserves all the praise it gets.
Yep. Animal Man then led to Arkham Asylum, which was the book he did with Dave McKean. We're not going to talk about that so much right now. We'll talk about it later. That then led to Doom Patrol.
Doom Patrol is a book that I'd heard about for a long time and had never read it. So very recently I went and I got the first trade and the second one. You can see him starting to feel his way around. What it is, Doom Patrol is a superhero team, ostensibly, full of people who are basically freaks or handicapped in some way or another.
Yeah, and the Doom Patrol was created. It was in the 50s, 60s.
Yeah, it's an old team.
60s.
It's an old team. You know, it's not like it's a new creation. So.
He picked it up, I think, at issue 19. Like it was not, he was not starting this off. It was going on, and he's like, he really wanted to sort of try something different with this. And the world that he creates with these sort of characters, you've got Robot Man, who is a robot with the brain of a man, like he died. Monster Girl. Yeah. I forget the multiple personality girl's name because she has multiple personalities, but each of her personalities has a superpower.
Yeah.
And like it sounds like at first he said that and I was like, that's going to be messy, but he handles it really, really smoothly. And there's all this weird the negative man thing is half man, half woman, and half the negative being, and it's just you can see in this his concepts. He's starting to think in a big, big way. There are times when this book gets I don't want to say self-indulgent. We use that too much, but it sort of lets itself meander.
Well, that's the real. If there's any criticism of Grant Morrison's work, is that where he goes so far out of there.
He explores so far that it goes too far.
Yeah, exactly.
What works with this book though is that he has characters like that.
This is right in his zone. Though.
And
I know there are people who love this run.
Right.
His run on Doom Patrol is like epic.
Red Jack is one of the villains in this, and his prose is like it just doesn't make the way he speaks doesn't make sense, and it's very flowery and very metaphysical sounding. But at the same time, the contrast in this book is that you have a character like Robot Man, by the way, who is the most human of everybody in it, which is kind of interesting, to contrast that.
Yeah.
And so what he does, it's grounded on one side. So you can look at it and go, all right, I get what's going on, and he's confused about all this stuff happening, so it's okay for me to be too. Yeah. There are other books that he's done where everything is confusing and you've got no center.
Yep. But Robot Man's the center of the patrol.
Yeah, this is interesting. I'm not going to go so far as to say it's great yet, but I haven't read far enough through the whole thing. And as I saw with Animal Man, he took a long time. And when you give him time and the freedom, more often than not, he'll rein the stuff in and give you something that's very worthwhile. Yeah. You've read some of it.
I've read some of it here and there. It's one of those ones that's on my list to go and read the entire run. Mm-hmm. But like I said, I know people who swear by it. And
right off, I love the concept of the damaged person superhero team, and everybody is not well on the Doom Patrol, and they don't really want to be superheroes, and they're kind of not really.
They're all flawed in a certain way.
Yeah.
So.
The Robot Man character is fantastic.
Yeah, but it's interesting because it's a team book.
Yes,
and a lot of different characters floating around.
Then you jump to 1995 when he's handed the reins of Justice League, which is the preeminent book in the DC
The
universe.
relaunch of Justice League JLA.
Justice League been floundering. They had in the late '80s. He had the classic Keith Giffen run, which led for 60 issues.
Yep.
That they went to the pure superhero route after that with Dan Jurgens. But you had a team made up of. You had some main big guys, but you had a mix of like people like Black Condor, and you had that guy Bloodwind. And you had people that they just stuck on the team.
Yeah.
So then finally they said, you know what? We're going back to getting the top 7 people in the universe: Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Flash, Green Lantern, John Jones, and we're going to have this be the powerhouse team. And they gave it to Grant Morrison.
And that was Grant Morrison's take on it was really that these are the gods of DC.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was an amalgam to the Greek gods within each one. There was I forget the Greek
Superman
gods'
is
Superman,
Zeus.
Mercury.
Mercury is Flash, and
Neptune.
Neptune or Atlantis or whatever. Yeah, Neptune is Aquaman, and so there was an amalgam to each one. 1995, I'm neck deep in Marvel and Image. I'm not reading any DC comics, and for some reason, I think I might have heard about it from you in college.
Yeah.
I heard that JLA had just started. I picked up the second issue, and it literally kicked my ass.
Yeah.
Like literally kicked my ass across the room.
It was really.
That first arc was just amazing.
The thing about his Justice League is this is his most straightforward superhero. Yeah. Even though he does adventure off and explore some interesting things with this book, this is his most straight up. I'm just doing superheroes being superheroes.
And it's not difficult to grasp. There are great concepts and really imaginative things in it, but it's not out there. Really.
You know what shines through in this book is that you can see he has a love and respect for all these characters, and they all have their moments where they're all badasses. They all have their moments where they save the day. Aquaman's a badass. Kyle Rayner's just coming into being a superhero. He's kind of the everyman character, but he gets his moments. Flash, because everybody has a moment where he's not caught up in Aquaman's lame, Kyle's new, Wonder Woman doesn't do anything. Everybody is capable, everybody is strong, everybody is there for a reason. These are the 7 gods of the DC universe for a reason, and he has a love and respect for them, and you can see that.
He also very deftly waves in character moments between the members of the League. Really, and it's not, it doesn't stick out. Like, it's really nicely woven in.
Like Jeff Johns does now.
When you talk about respect for the characters, like, even the very beginning of his arc, like, he gives Metamorpho this really amazing moment, and he knows this stuff.
They're like in the first arc when there's a battle against Martians, the whole Batman alone thing and with the fire, and I know your secret, that was just amazing. The issue that sticks out to me the most is the stuff that he did with Green Arrow.
Connor
Hawke Green Arrow. And Kyle Rayner, Green Lantern, was friends with, had teamed up with him and is trying to get him in Justice League. And there's one issue where he's alone, where the key
takes out the whole
team.
That's before he had joined. What
Yeah.
happened? He was coming up, and they were going to tell him he had the job, and he goes up, and he's like, "Hello."
Nobody's there, and so and there's all this great reverence for the history of the Justice League. And
he has to use his dad's trick arrows from the trophy room. He's like, "Come on, Dad."
Yeah, the boxing glove.
He's like, "You're killing me, Dad."
And then the stuff he did with Tomorrow Girl.
Yeah, it was
which
great.
I thought was amazing. Was really, really good. So I mean,
that read like an Astro City issue.
Yeah,
the Tomorrow Girl.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally.
There's a reverence for the whole DCU in this series,
right.
and then by the middle, he basically says the team is going to be huge, and he brings in 12 members. They jump.
He invented Zoriel, and did he put Aztec on?
Zoriel was in the team because Hawkman wasn't going to work,
right?
Because of what was going on with Hawkman at the time.
Yeah, so he wanted
Hawkman, so
for an angel.
Well, when you get to the third volume of this,
Rock of Ages,
Aztec's on the team.
Yeah.
And
Aztec was a book he wrote too.
Yeah. They'd met Zoriel in early, but he declined to join at that point. But he comes back in later. You know what's funny about this is, and then at one you change books and Superman becomes a blue electric Superman.
Then he changes it back because he gets
which isn't as bad as you would think.
Yeah,
he finds great uses for he used Superman better like this than they did in his own book.
So, absolutely.
What I thought was amazing was that he was on this book for a while.
Yeah,
I mean, it was a good long run. He was eventually then Mark Waid replaced him later on, but it was well into the 50s or 60s.
Well, you've got six. The first 2 are thin, but you've got 6 trades worth of JLA here.
Yeah,
this is my favorite modern after Giffen's run. This is like my number 2 favorite JLA run. This is a great run.
And it's interesting because while he was doing this at DC, this is pretty straightforward, but that didn't stop him from doing a little bit of the weird and the counterculture. And at that same time, he was working on the Invisibles, which is a long ongoing thing, which we're actually going to go to iFanboy.com, write a little thing about that. But he also did a quick book that came out of Doom Patrol called Flex Mentallo, which was actually done with Frank Quitely, who's somebody who would work later on in his career. That book had a little controversy. Charles Atlas, people didn't like the book, and it's not in print anymore. But if you can find it, it's supposed to be stuff of legend. It's kind of like Mural Command status at this point.
It's getting.
Just because it's not available, or because
no,
it's
both
awesome?
because it's awesome.
It's a little bit of both.
Yeah,
not availability makes it more important. So that's Grant Morrison did a lot of stuff, many years at DC. And we're gonna take a quick break. After the break, he's gonna into Marvel's world. He's gonna go Marvel, and he's gonna piss Ron off.
Abracadabra. Shoot. Oh, hey, I'm just reading this book about magic tricks and I can't figure it out. Anyway, since I have your attention, why don't you use this time to head over to GoDaddy.com. You can enter the coupon code iFanboy and you get 10% off your entire purchase, okay? You can get domain names, you can get whatever you need, so head over there, grab your piece of the internet. And why don't you also go to netflix.com/iFanboy for your 2-week free trial. That gives you like access to over 90,000 titles, no late fees, no delivery fees, no nothing. Okay? So do all that and Shazam. I'll figure this magic thing out eventually.
So Ron,
Yes.
big book, new X-Men.
Yeah.
Started the title, Frank Quitely.
No,
It was called X-Men.
It was called X-Men. They renamed it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they did. It was
they renamed it.
Adjective. So what happened was that Grant Morrison's time at DC ends. He signs an exclusive deal with Marvel, and they hand him the reins They hand him and Joe Casey.
Casey gets Uncanny,
and then they rename Adjectiveless X-Men to New X-Men.
which because it was a mirror image.
Yeah,
New and X-Men
New
flipped, and they
X-Men,
they're
the
flipped.
logo. Yeah. And so what they do is they herald. Grant Morrison's going to work on X-Men. At the time, after coming off JLA, I was psyched.
I think
this is gonna be really cool.
I think everybody, but you especially, were psyched.
Frank Quitely was going to be on pencils on New X-Men, and we got these great teaser images of the team of like that. Remember that angled shot one, and one of them walking in from the sun type thing.
All I remember is the Emma Frost shot.
Well, yeah, there's the Emma Frost camel toe. And so what basically the conceit, as far as I can tell, what Morrison did on New X-Men was he took the idea of mutants being kind of special and not many, and said, well, what if we made more mutants?
Yeah, the second mutation.
Yeah, well, he introduced the idea of the second mutation, so that somebody like the Beast evolved further into a beast, or Emma developed the power to turn to diamonds, things like that, where people could have secondary powers, which was that's a way to re-inject life into kind of boring characters. But then he also said, whereas it was like 1 in a million was a mutant, is that he introduced this overpopulation of mutants.
Right.
So Xavier's is crawling with new students.
It was more like a college campus at that point.
Yeah, and what he also did though, which was a visual thing, which I don't know if Quitely did or not, but he created more mutated visually looking characters.
Well, his idea was that not every mutant looks like a model and has abilities that enable them to fight crime. Some people mutated to birds.
Like
Some people,
Beak. Like a chicken like
Beak's
bird.
still around?
Yeah, but he has no power. He's a human again.
some people just have mutations that aren't conducive to going out and stopping muggers.
That would
Right.
suck.
Exactly.
I mean,
So-
I think that's a conceit, is that, hey, I'm a mutant, cool. Oh, shit, I'm a bird.
So now I think
I can't even fly either.
So there are a lot of people who love his run on New X-Men.
It's very polarizing.
It's very polarizing. There are people who love it, love it, love it. I get into drunken arguments with people all the time.
You
over it.
wrote a very epic, long piece on iFanboy.com about it.
We'll reprint it for this.
That could be it. But I think you were disappointed more than anything.
I was disappointed because I felt as if, number one, I think it's good writing. There was good stuff in there. It wasn't what I wanted, the direction I wanted to see X-Men go in. Not in terms of concepts, but in terms of execution.
Well, you did.
Hang on, let me finish. I think he had a lot of really, really good ideas that he said, okay, here's this idea, and I'm not going to flesh out. I'm going to go over here and do this idea. I'm not going to flesh this one out. I'm going to go out here and do this idea. And it became very hurried and very rushed. So we had things like the new mutations. We had Phantom X. We had the drug kick, the Quentin, the Omega, the Quentin Quire, whatever. And then we had Zorn, who the character with the Chinese Tibetan mutant who turned out to be Magneto in hiding. Like, it was just one thing after another, and ultimately culminated to what I think was his original goal from the first issue he wrote, which was to kill Jean Grey. I think from the first issue he had planned to kill Jean Grey. And for that, Grant Morrison, I will never forgive you. But
Well, two things. One, you thought you were getting JLA Grant Morrison. You really you got Doom Patrol Grant Morrison.
Correct.
And you have to give it up. He got rid of Gene and he gave us Scott and Emma, which I think is a much more interesting pairing.
He did create the good love triangle between Scott, Emma, and Jean
which
Grey.
is not involving Wolverine, which is nice. But
right, but I also don't like Cyclops and Emma together now.
I don't know, but you're in the weight minority of that one. Everybody loves Scott and Emma together.
I don't trust her as far as I can throw her.
That's the point.
Well, she's a piece of paper. You could throw her really
I know.
far.
Anyway, but yeah, no. I mean, like I said, the writing was good. The stories were good. There were moments of brilliance. Like I love there was a drug the kick drug. That was like an inhaler, like an asthma inhaler, that made their powers get hyped up or whatever, and there was a riot at Xavier's. Yeah. I'm iffy on Cassandra Nova. Yeah. I thought the nano sentinels were good, but it's always going back to the nanotechnology, which is the theme of the 2000s.
Do you think that run was hurt overall because of Quitely's inability?
I think that's
so that was a big thing, was that you had suddenly Quitely couldn't keep up with the schedule, and then you had Igor Corday, but his art was rushed as well, and
it was different than Frank Quitely's.
It was about as far as you could get differently.
And it ended on a strong note with Phil Jimenez and then unfortunately Mark Silvestri, but but actually the Silvestri art wasn't that bad. But when it ended, I was like, thank God it's over. Thank God it's over, and because it just couldn't continue like that.
Now let me ask you a question. If you were a person who didn't really have a long history in the X-Men...
No.
He can't answer that question. I read it, of course.
Did you
wasn't
like
accessible.
Overall, I liked it.
Okay.
Overall, I think there was definitely missteps. There were definitely some storylines didn't work.
My criticisms are correct. I mean, I know I have some personal...
Well, for you, I mean,
Would you call it new reader friendly at all? Do you think that's a good place for people to start reading or not?
Apparently, lots of people
I know a lot of people
picked up on it, so I think it is. I mean, a lot of people.
It's available, all collected.
There's an omnibus.
Yeah.
There's a new.
So I do know a lot of people who got onto the X-Men from that and then went back.
So it's
from
definitely
there.
accessible.
So I got to give it that credit, but to me, I mean,
he brought in a lot of new readers to X-Men, so that was anything.
The problem was that we always talk about how malign the X line has been since like the late '90s. This didn't fix it, and in fact, it made things worse. I think in the long run. And part of that has to do with his abrupt leaving.
Well, he helped the popularity.
His abrupt leaving of Marvel and going back to DC, kind of cutting it off sooner than he thought of. But of course, if he hadn't done that, we wouldn't have gotten Astonishing X-Men.
I think some writers fit better in certain universes, and I think he fits more in the DC universe. He's more I think he's more attuned to the DC.
Which is interesting because
we're not even mentioning Marvel Boy. But anyway,
right.
sorry.
Well,
he did Marvel Boy at Marvel too.
I love Marvel Boy.
Yeah, well, you're right.
Well, Josh will talk. Yeah. So then he did 52, which we did a whole show on. You can check out with three other dudes. I can't remember their names, but
some Johns.
They might be employed. They might be famous. I don't remember.
Company.
We did an episode on 52. Go watch that.
And then he did All-Star Superman, which is the first entry into the DC's All-Star line, which is the non-continuity. Sort of the Marvel Knights version of the DC for DCU. Yeah. It's basically I'm going to tell Superman's story, not worry about history or stories. I just want to tell the story I want to tell. And this is also somewhat polarizing. But I think most people really like this. And
it won an Eisner for best ongoing series. I mean,
which is a bit a joke.
And people love it.
He's back with Quitely on this one. The art is undeniably good. Quitely not as fast as people would hope for if they're waiting for a monthly book. So the regular release schedule of this has been sporadic. But it's one of those books that people make time for. Yeah. It's the same way that they do for Astonishing X-Men, I think.
Yep.
Where
he's almost,
Joss Whedon and John Cassaday put out issues, and when they do, even if it's been 2 or 3 months, people are like, it was awesome. I can't, it took that long to do it.
He's doing Silver Age concepts, but in his modern, whacked out sensibilities. Yeah. And it's a fantastic book. It's amazing. It's almost better than it should be. This is a great issue where he goes to visit Luthor in jail. So fantastic issue. But he's actually wanted to write Superman. He wanted to write the Bane book, but they didn't give it to him. So this is his.
This is his response.
Why?
There was the attempted time where Mark Miller, Grant Morrison, and Mark Waid tried to take over Superman, and for some reason DC got cold feet and said no. And they've never been the same. They were all so hyped up about taking over Superman and making him cool again. Yeah. He writes a great Superman in Justice League and in Also Superman. He writes a really great Superman.
He certainly does.
This is going to end up being a epic book when it's all done and collected, and one that's going to be a biggie.
Yeah.
I think.
And then currently he's wrapping up his run on Batman, which has also been quite controversial because you either get the JLA Grant Morrison or the Doom Patrol Grant Morrison, depending on the arc.
Yeah, I mean, you either like it or you don't, or you like some of it and you hate some of it. And
I've really enjoyed most. There's only been a few issues where I thought, all right, that wasn't very good. But I think I really like what he's trying to do. He's trying to really explore Batman as a character and the psyche, and also comic books themselves.
Yeah. It's one of those things where we used to, in the podcast, we used to always, people would ask about Grant Morrison, and we say that he was a big swinger.
Yep.
He's a rock star. I mean, he's a...
No, he's a swing. He swings for the fences.
Oh, yeah.
He's using a baseball metaphor.
Nice.
Yay!
I went with the sexual...
Like when the pitch comes, he goes all out. He doesn't say...
He swings for the fences. Yep.
He does, and, you're going to get some whiffs when you do that. But you're also going to get some dingas.
Yeah. Wow, look at you. Did the Boston thing, too. No, but and like we said, he to me, he's the embodiment of a comic rock star. I mean, we see him at the conventions, and he's got his white pants and his tight black T-shirt, and and he's a hoot to have on panels.
Aura around
there is
him
an
as he
aura around him.
walks.
Yeah, no, I mean, it really is amazing, and I think he's one of the best writers that we've had in our time period.
As far as the person who comes up with imaginative ideas, big ideas, and things that...
And that's what he gave to 52.
It's what he did to 52. It's when you read JLA, and JLA was really focused, but it was big concepts and ideas and things that are imaginative, and
Like Rock of Ages.
Yeah.
In issues, it was kind of dodgy, but reading it all together is fantastic.
Yeah. But also at the same time, an incredible grasp on those characters. He knows them.
I think we keep going about the JLA because I think that's probably what we've got on here is my favorite and the best thing he's done, simply because it's so thick, it's so encompassing, and he almost rehabilitates every single character in the DCU through JLA because he gives them all he understands them all, he gives them all great moments.
It's what got me into DC.
Me too.
And then
Steel has a great moment when he joins the team. Like everybody has
Huntress,
a great moment.
I forgot he added Huntress to the team.
Oracle was on the team.
Yeah.
Everybody.
This pulled me into DC, then got me into Flash, got me into Green Lantern, and went from there. So I owe that to him. So
even Sandman's in that.
He has a fantastic Aquaman in that book.
Yes.
Oh, that's good stuff.
He did a whole.
Some tuna told me. He said that. And then he goes, don't ask.
So he did a whole bunch of great stuff we didn't even mention half the stuff we did, but there's a couple of our favorites that we're going to talk about throughout the week. If you go back to iFanboy.com and check out the minis for this week, we're going to be talking about some of our personal favorites.
Yeah, then so if you come back, you're going to see a mini on We 3, you're going to see a mini on Kill Your Boyfriend, you're going to see a mini on Arkham Asylum, you're going to see us write about some. Gordon the Intern's going to write something, hopefully.
Everybody's going to be talking Grant Morrison that week. So
Grant Morrison week.
This week. It's going to be fun.
And then Friday we're going to do peyote and cast spells.
It'll be awesome. So if you have any questions or any Grant Morrison stories, you can email us at contact@ifanboy.com. If you've ever heard the one about... I forget it.
If you know a peyote guy, you can call 888-FANBOY, which is 326-2697. Is it 97?
Yeah. Go watch more of our videos and the forums at revision3.com/ifanboy. Also, you can find the minis, which are our daily, weekly shows we just mentioned.
And you can go to ifanboy.com, like we mentioned, for the week of Grant Morrison, as well as other great comic talk and discussion. And if you're reading a good comic book, you can go to the comic section, tell people you're reading it, and write a review, do that sort of thing. He's an
What were you going to go with that? What that does the places move sideways?
Well, just twist.
It's hard though, because every time you turn,
I can't, because any more than I have to put my leg up here.
Then you sit with your balls out.
I want to get my balls in.
Would it kill you to put on a button down?